If I'm suffering, are you going to sit down and suffer with me? No. This is my life, and I have to make the right decisions for my life. And if my spirit is telling me that there's something wrong, if I'm having nightmares every single night, if even my mom, who I'm super close to, isn't happy with this decision, then there is definitely something wrong here. Hey, I'm Simi Dre, and I want to share my story with you guys. So I actually shared the story on TikTok a while ago, but I think it's time for you on YouTube to know about this part of my life. So before I met my husband, I was engaged to another man. When I was in my early 20s, I met this guy and he seemed, okay. And we started dating. Now, the funny thing is that right at the beginning of our relationship, my spirit was not entirely at ease. But when you're in your early 20s or your like late teenage years, you don't really take these things seriously. Well, I didn't. I didn't take this seriously. And even though I wanted to get married, the reality of marriage hadn't hit me then. But this guy and I were in a relationship for 7 months. Bear in mind, within those 7 months, we had broken up about 3, 4 times. So he never cheated on me. He never hit me. He wasn't abusive or anything like that. But we did have a lot of arguments. I mean, he and I argued all the time. And I'm actually a very peaceful person. Like, people who know me know that, like, I like peace. I don't like drama. But for some reason, this guy and I were always arguing. But anyway, after 7 months, we went to a restaurant and I literally just thought it was a normal dinner. I didn't even do my makeup, I didn't dress up or anything. And before I had finished my meal, he went down on one knee and proposed. I had always envisioned the day I would get engaged. And in my head, it would have been like one of the happiest days of my life. However, the first thing, the first thought that entered my head when he proposed right there at the restaurant was, Simi, grab your car keys and run. Like, run, japa, fast, fast. Guess what? I said yes. I mean, it was in a public place, there are people watching us, people clapping. And I actually did love this man. So I said yes. And you know what? I actually did think, it's fine. We can get married. However, when I went home that evening, I called my mom and I said, Mom, he proposed. My mom said, Simi, don't do it. And my mom's not the kind of person who would ever like force me to do anything I don't want to do. My mom was like, Simi, I know you. I don't feel this is the man for you. And I was telling my mom that, look, it's okay. I'll just pray about it. I'll be fine. And then after I spoke to my mom, I called my dad and I told him I was engaged. And I burst into tears. And these weren't tears of joy. These were tears of trepidation, anxiety. It was the strangest feeling ever because, while I was dating him, even though like our relationship wasn't perfect, it wasn't like terrible. So now that the reality of getting married to this man was like, it had confronted me, I was shocked that I did not feel at peace. In fact, I kept on having nightmares every single night. I had like nightmares back to back. And I just was not like, my spirit was not at peace. But I just kept on telling myself that, look, it's normal to be nervous about getting married because this is like a huge change, like a huge step in your life, right? However, a few months passed by and I hadn't even asked him about what date we would want to get married. So he came up to me, my ex came up to me and asked me, like, what's going on? How come you haven't made any plans concerning the wedding at all? And I had to tell him that, look, I feel like I'm just not ready for marriage yet. And I think that we should just work on our relationship and postpone the engagement for now. He said, okay, not a problem, that he would give me the time I needed. However, I still never felt at peace. I just started praying and I was just like, God, if this is the right person for me, let it continue. If he is not the right person for me, please close this door. This guy and I, we used to, like, we would talk every single day. We would text, we would call every single day. But for some reason, we stopped talking to each other as much as we normally would. And then one day, he called me and asked me, Simi, are we still in a relationship? And I was about to say yes, but my spirit told me to say no. And I said no, and we never spoke. Like, he literally never spoke to me again. But can I tell you something? Can I be honest with you? When I said no and we hung up, I've never experienced this before, but I felt like I had wings. I felt like a huge weight had been lifted from my chest. I felt like I had been suffocating and drowning and I didn't even know. But the minute he hung up, I felt like I could breathe. Like, I don't know, like I was just like a whole new being and I was flying and floating and limitless. And the weirdest thing is, right? I started succeeding more in my career. And I realized while I was in a relationship with him, I had actually suppressed some of myself. I had stopped dressing well. I had stopped taking care of myself. I had stopped truly being the person I was. So I actually moved to Nigeria a couple of years ago. And one thing I've noticed is that, like, society puts a lot of pressure on women to get married. Like, women tend to feel that they're not complete, or society tries to make women feel like they're not complete unless or until they get married. And after I ended my engagement with my ex, I still had people, friends, family members coming to me months after the engagement had happened, asking me, when is the marriage happening? When is the wedding happening? And when I told them that we had called it off, they started insulting me. They started telling me that I wasn't serious, that I didn't know what I wanted, that I had just been leading this guy on. And I was trying to explain to them that it was the wrong thing to do. He was not the right one. The amount of insults that were thrown my way for my decision, and I kept on thinking to myself that, look, this is my life. If I'm miserable in this marriage, where are you going to be? If I'm suffering, are you going to sit down and suffer with me? No. This is my life, and I have to make the right decisions for my life. And if my spirit is telling me that there's something wrong, if I'm having nightmares every single night, if even my mom, who I'm super close to, isn't happy with this decision, then there is definitely something wrong here. But no, nobody wanted to listen to me. And, I was completely invalidated, but it's fine. I told myself that, look, I have to make the right decision and I have to stick by my decision. But I was single for some time. And while I was single, I just became very intentional about dating. In fact, in the period I was single, I became extremely close to God, like very, very close to, like we were talking all the time. And I got to the point where I became so content, fulfilled, and happy that I didn't feel like I needed anything else. Like, I was good. And I told God that, look, you have made me so happy. I don't feel like I need a man. I don't feel like I need to get married. And I told God that, like, look, honestly speaking, if you want me to get married, then the man I marry has to tick all of these boxes. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm the kind of person who doesn't necessarily believe in having boxes for your dream man, like superficial boxes. I think it's fine to have boxes like he should be faithful, he should, you know, love family, want to have a family. Those kind of things are okay. But the list I gave God had some good stuff on and some very superficial things on. Like, I was very, very specific. I was like, you know what? Unless it's my dream man, I'm not going to get married because I'm good. Like, God has made me so happy. I am so fulfilled. Why should I settle for anything less than my dream? Because I don't need to get married. So I gave God a list, like down to the height of my dream man. And I did not think, let me be honest with you, right? I did not think I was going to meet anyone who ticked these boxes. I was just like, I gave God this list and I forgot about it. I was done dating. I bought a cat because I was ready to be a crazy cat lady. You could not tell me anything. So the funny thing is, when I met my husband asked me out on a date and I said yes. But honestly speaking, the day of the date, I almost canceled. But I told myself, what's the worst that can happen? I'll probably just have like a nice free meal, shameless, and then just tell him we're going to be friends. But that night of the date, I fell in love with this man, hook, line, and sinker. And within a week and a half from our first date, we were like officially in a relationship. Now, do you know the crazy thing, right? It was after we were in a relationship that I remembered the list I'd given God. And if I tell you something, my husband ticked every single list on that box. And the thing is, if I had listened to society, if I had listened to what my friends had said, because a lot of people insulted me, a lot of people really judged me for ending my engagement, I would not have been as happy as I am right now. And the craziest thing is that got married to another woman, and I'm not going to go into this story, but he basically revealed that he belonged to a cult. So I'm not going to touch on that because it's quite personal and it doesn't involve me or concern me anymore. But there is a reason I was having those nightmares. You know, there is a reason that my spirit was not at peace. There is a reason why the Holy Spirit kept on telling me, screaming at me, Simi, don't do this. And I'm so glad I listened to the Holy Spirit and I trusted in the Holy Spirit and I put God first. I'm so glad I had those 2 years to become super close to God and put Him first and allow Him to lead the right man into my life. And I just want, you know, if there's someone out there who feels pressured from society, it is far better to be single and to be at peace than to be married to somebody who will make your entire life miserable. Trust me on that. That is my story, and I hope it helps, even if it's one person out there. Love you. Bye.